So this is 4.4 part 1. 4.4 is actually going to be split up into 4 different parts, but they all have to do with factoring. So when factoring, we are rewriting an expression as a product of its factors. So we're taking something and splitting it into 2 that we can multiply back to each other and get the original. So we're just going to skip the next bullet point. We don't have to know that. So how we factor is like foiling in reverse. The last class was kind of confused with how you foil, which this you should have learned in Algebra 1, but we don't really have to do it right now. It doesn't affect how we factor. So if you don't remember how to FOIL, no big deal. We're going to skip it for now. We'll come back to it. So to factor, we need to find what 2 numbers multiply to the last number. So what 2 numbers can we multiply and get 8 and add up to 6? So what 2 numbers do you think multiply and give us 8, but add to give us 6? Awesome, 4 times 2. And 4 plus 2 gives us 6, which is exactly what we wanted. So how we factor this is we draw parentheses. So we have 2 sets of parentheses. We always start with our x term. So since we have an x squared, we put 1x in the first spot and 1x in the first spot of our second parentheses. And then after that, we put our numbers. Since this is both a positive 4 and positive 2, we put plus 4 and plus 2. So this is our answer. This is how we factor. Now, if we wanted to check our work, we could FOIL this all out, multiply it out. If you don't remember how to FOIL, don't worry. But if you do remember how to FOIL, to check our work, we can FOIL it out, and we would get the original equation that we started with. So if you just wanted to check your work, you could always do it that way. All right, so we just have 5 more examples of factoring, and that's all we're doing today. So we need to find 2 factors of 20 and that add to 9. So multiply and give us the last number, add to the middle one. So what are 2 numbers that multiply and give us 20? Anything. What are 2 factors of 20? 5 times 4. 10 and 2. 10 and 2 work. But what's 10 plus 2? 12. We're looking for numbers that add to 9. So this doesn't work for now. Well, it doesn't work. But 10 and 2 are good factors. Nick said 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
What's 4 plus 5? 9. 9 is exactly what we're looking for. So we would write it in our parentheses. All right, so we said 4 and 5 are our factors. They add to 9, which is exactly what we wanted in the middle. So now we are going to put those into our parentheses. So we always start with our x's first. And then since it's a positive 4, we put plus 4. And a positive 5, we put plus 5. So this is our answer. So when doing these on the homework, you don't need to do this box every single time. This box here in the middle. It helps when you're listing all of your factors. So when you're starting to do these, just if you can't think of what 2 factors of 20 add and give us 9 right off the bat, just start by listing all of your factors of 20. So it helps kind of to keep yourself organized, but when you do the homework, you don't need this chart. The way most people do it is just like how we did the first example. What are 2 numbers that multiply to 20 and add to 9? So we said 4 and 5, and then we just put our parentheses there. So I know some of you guys are writing it on paper because Notability is not working. So you don't need to rewrite the whole chart. Just think, what are your factors of 20 that add to 9? Draw your parentheses, then you put x plus 4 and x plus 5. And this is our answer. All right, let's go to the next one. We need factors of what that add to what. So what do we put in the first blank?
14.
So we always start with two numbers, factors of the last one, so that multiply, give us the last number, and add to the middle one. So we need factors of negative 72 that add to 14. So what are two numbers that multiply and give us negative 72? 6 times 12. It's a negative 72, so that means one of our numbers has to be negative. But when the number that we're adding for in the middle is positive, that means the smaller number is negative. So if the number that we're adding for is positive, the bigger number is positive. So the other one has to be negative. So negative 6 and positive 12. So what is negative 6 plus 12? So 12 minus 6. 6. Is that what we're looking for? No. So let's try something else. What are two other factors of negative 72? Is 72 an even number? So 2 goes into it. How many times? 2 and what? 2 and 36.
36.
One of them has to be negative. So we said since what we're adding for is positive, the bigger number has to be positive. So negative 2 and 36. Negative 2 plus 36 is 34. So that doesn't work. What are some other factors of negative 72? 9 and 8. The smaller one has to be negative. So 9 minus 8 gives us 1. That doesn't work.
4 and 18.
4 and 18. Which one's negative?
4.
The 4. So negative 4 plus 18? 14. It's exactly what we're looking for. So negative 4 and positive 18 work. So we're going to draw our parentheses. What goes first in our parentheses?
X
X. And then what?
plus
Plus what?
negative 4.
So the sign goes with it. So if we put the negative 4 first, we would just do x minus 4 because we don't need the plus negative 4. Just put x minus 4. And then x, what comes next?
X plus 18.
X plus 18. And it doesn't matter the order that we write it in. If we want to, we can do x plus 18 times x minus 4. So both of these would work. Doesn't matter which one you put first, but it does matter that the negative goes with the 4 and not the 18. So it does matter where you put that minus sign. All right, next example. So we need factors of what that add to what? We're multiplying to get which number?
30.
30. And adding to get what?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. So we're looking for our factors of 30. What are some factors of 30? 5 times 6. What is 5 plus 6? 11, but we're looking for a negative 11. So we're on the right track, but what do we need to do? How can we make that 11 a negative 11?
Do we put a negative 5?
Well, what is negative 5 plus 6? A 1. So that wouldn't work. And what's also negative 5 times 6 would be negative 30, but we're looking for a positive 30. So anything else we have to do? So we said negative 5 and 6 doesn't work because it multiplies to negative 30. What else could we try? What's a negative times a negative? A positive. So what about negative 5 and negative 6? Negative 5 times negative 6 would be positive 30. And negative 5 plus negative 6 is what? Negative 11. So when you're multiplying to get a positive number, but they're adding to get a negative, both numbers are going to be negative. Because you can't add two positives together and get a negative number. So if the number you're trying to multiply to get is positive, but you're looking for the sum that's negatives, then both of them have to be negative. So what goes into our parentheses?
X minus, negative 5.
X
And then
minus
X
5
negative
and x minus 6. Perfect. Example 6. So here, what makes this a little bit different than the ones that we've been doing before? Does it look different in any way? The x squared is negative. So that makes this problem harder, but we can do one easy step to just get rid of it. So we want to divide everything by a negative 1. So to do that, we just take out a negative 1 and flip all of the signs in our equation. So this becomes a positive x squared, a negative 14x, and a negative 32. So we always want to start with a positive. So start positive. So if we ever have a negative that starts, we just want to take it out and change the signs of everything. So in our answer, we're going to start with a negative 1 and have our parentheses after that. So everything else we're doing this is the same. We just take out that negative 1 to start. And it just hangs on at the end to our answer. So we need factors of what that add to what? Factors of negative 32
that equal negative 14.
that equal negative 14. So what are two numbers that multiply and give us negative 32? 2 and 16. Which one's negative? If we're looking for a negative number, the bigger one has to be negative. So whatever number you're looking for the sum of, the bigger number has to be that same sign. So here, the bigger one has to be negative. So what's 2 minus 16? Negative 14. It's exactly what we're looking for. So 2 and negative 16 work. So what goes into our parentheses?
X plus 2 and X negative 16.
X plus 2 and x minus 16. Perfect. And then we just can't forget we took out that negative 1 in the beginning, so our answer has to have that negative 1 with it. Good question, because here our sum is negative, so the bigger number has to be negative. Before, our sum was positive, so the bigger number had to be positive, so we made the smaller one negative. But always, whatever, whatever your sum is, the bigger number has to be that same sign.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we have one. What's the first thing we should do here? Right, we want to take out that negative 1. And then when we take out the negative 1, what do we have to do to everything else? Flip the signs. So we have x squared minus 13x plus 12. So we need factors of what that add to what?
12 that adds negative 13.
Factors of 12 that add to negative 13. If what we're multiplying is a positive, but our sum is a negative, what does that tell us about our two numbers?
2 negative.
They're two negatives, so just keep that in mind. Our numbers are going to be two negatives. What are some factors of 12?
12 and 1.
So negative 12 and negative 1, because we said they both have to be negative. And what's negative 12 minus 1?
Negative 13.
Negative 13, exactly what we wanted. So we start off with that negative 1, can't forget it. Since we took it out at the beginning, we need it at the end. And then we have our two sets of parentheses. What goes into our parentheses?
X minus 12 and x minus 1.
X minus 12 and x minus 1. Awesome. So this is our answer. So again, when doing the homework, so here our problem was x squared minus 13x plus 12. When doing the homework, you don't have to draw the box for every single one. You don't have to draw the box for any of them. The box is just there to help you with the notes. The way most people do it is I draw like two little arrows here, make a little tree. So what are my factors of 12 that add to negative 13? I would put negative 1 and negative 12. And then I do my parentheses and put x minus 1, x minus 12. So on the homework, you're not showing a lot of work, but I need to see a little bit of work. I know some of you can just do this in your head, but I want to see some work for your homework. So make sure you're showing me your work. So even if this is all the work you do, totally fine, great, I want to see it. Write it down. Any questions?